Hey everyone, welcome back to Ask Joe. Today's movie review will be Man and the Wasp. I gave this movie 4 out of 5 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I'm not gonna lie to you, when the first Ant-Man came out a few years ago, before it even came to the theaters, when I first heard it was coming out, I was thinking like, I don't know, I don't know too much about this one. Especially when they changed directors, because they were having problems with the original director, Edgar Wright, who I still think would have did a phenomenal job with it. But Peyton Reed still did a phenomenal job with the first one. I thoroughly enjoyed the first Ant-Man. And this Ant-Man, in my opinion, was just as good as the original one, the original Ant-Man. This movie takes place 2 years from the events of Civil War. And this very well could have been a standalone movie. It was that good in itself. It was very well developed, a very character driven story. It really delved into the backstory of Hank, and also at the beginning of it, it pretty much picks up that scene where he was talking to Hope and Scott and telling him what happened with him and Janet. It pretty much starts out right there in the very beginning, because if you've read anything about the story, you know they're going to try to go and get Janet from the quantum realm. But I'm not going to spoil anything on that, because I actually want you guys to go see it, and I try to give spoiler-free reviews. But like I say, the story delves into Hank's backstory and also introduces Bill Foster, aka Goliath. For those of you who don't know, who remember the comic book, Bill Foster and Goliath, that is another version of Giant Man, Goliath. And for those of you who are familiar with the Civil War story arc of the comic book, you know he was also the one that was killed by the clone Thor. But that's another story for another day. But Bill Foster, aka Goliath, played by Lawrence Fishburne. Sorry if you hear that crap in the background. That's still 4th of July out there. 3 days after 4th of July, and people still out there popping. So, but I digress. I know I gotta stay on track. That shit's just distracting. But even though it was nice to see Bill Foster in the movie, it was a bit let down because you don't actually get to see him suit up as Goliath. You know, and that's what some people were hoping, but don't get your hopes up too much. You're not going to see that. Don't mean to spoil that. You're going to hear him talk about himself as Goliath and him actually growing big, but you're never going to get to actually see it happen. Now, there's not a lot of action in this movie. Ant-Man is one of the movies where it's more driven on story, kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy. Even though there was a lot of action in there, this is one of the movies where it's really not all about the action. It's more about the story, you know. And I thought it was a very well told story. And even though there's some parts where it does drag, it's the comedy that really brings it to life, like it did in the first one. Especially when you get the 3 wombats, as Hank Pym called them in the first one. Dave, played by T.I., Kurt, played by Dave Dixlakshian. May have pronounced his ring wrong. My apologies. And again, Luis Michael Pena. Oh, God, that guy's hilarious. Especially when he's doing his narrating. Oh, man. It was just as funny as the first. That is what really brings the comedy to light. And it's just the chemistry amongst everyone. Especially the FBI agent. And I can't remember his name right offhand. The FBI agent that's watching over Scott while he's still on house arrest. The chemistry between him and Scott is just hilarious, especially toward the end. As far as the villain goes, there's really no true villain in this movie. You know, one thing I was talking about in this, and I was talking about this with my girlfriend too, was we kind of hate seeing these sentimental villains. You know, every movie you've seen so far, not just talking about MCU, but this even goes back to like Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. You know, with Spider-Man 2, you had Doc Ock. You know, he only became, you know, he was driven to become Doc Ock, you know, because, you know, the death of his wife and everything. He wanted to save the city. You know, and then you had Sandman. He only became, you know, a villain because, you know, of his daughter. And then, you know, other villains, you know, like, I'm trying to think of some offhand. You guys know what I mean. You always have them villains that there's always something that's causing them to be a villain. You know, the death of a loved one, or they was wronged by somebody. You know, why can't somebody just be evil to be evil? You know, I mean, because like in Black Panther, you can't really call Eric Killmonger a villain because you kind of relate where he's coming from. Thanos, even though you really could say he was a villain, you kind of still relate to where he was coming from. You know, the reason why he was one of the, you know, eradicate half the population was because of overpopulation. It was kind of a method to his madness, so you really couldn't call him a villain, even though he was just killing people with no F's to give, you know. The only person who I could really say was a true villain in the entire MCU probably was Hela from Ragnarok. You can't really say Loki because Loki had daddy issues, so sentimental villain. Hela, and I'm going to get back on track here, but Hela was really the only true villain. But back to this movie here. There really was no true villain in here. When you see the movie Ghost, you'll understand what she's doing and why she's doing it. You know, she's not really a true villain. Now, Walter Coggins, he's playing somewhat of a villain. I wouldn't really call him a villain. He's just more like that fly on your balls. You're just trying to get off, you know. But disregard that. And you'll see what I'm talking about with that analogy, but I didn't mean to use that kind of analogy, but you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so back on track here. There's really no true villain, and especially since this villain herself is connected to Bill Foster. Mild spoiler. But you know, like I said, it's really no true villain. You know, and like I said, when you see it, you'll understand who she is and why she's doing what she's doing. And as you know, they are going to go to get Janet out of the, and you probably already know this just by reading some of the reviews. You already know they're probably going to get her out of the quantum realm. But the quantum realm is going to play, especially when you watch that end credit scene, the quantum realm is actually going to play a big factor in Avengers 4. In my opinion, like, I really can't spoil too much, not even the end credit scene. But I can say this because everybody's been wondering with the events of Infinity War. And this pretty much took place, I would say, along the lines of what... Pardon me. This took place along the lines of Infinity War. And the end credit scenes, you already know if you've seen Infinity War, there are going to be some people that are going to fade away. Who? I'm not going to say. But all I got to say is, Janet's going to tell something to Scott that's going to make you think like, okay, that makes sense. Especially if you're really big into like reading spoilers and reading and really delving into the, you know, what's going to happen in the movies and certain scenes that you've been seeing in some pictures. It's really going to make sense. I don't want to say too much about it without it spoiling anything. But like I say, very good movie. I give it 4 out of 5 stars. Like I say, it does drag in some places, but to me, like I say, the story and the comedy itself, it brings it back to fruition. And the action was on point. And Evangeline Lilly as the Wasp, man, I'm telling you, she really killed it in this one. And like I say, I would definitely go see it again. And I don't say that very often about movies very often, but I would definitely go see this one again. Not saying I am, but I may. But I don't know. But I definitely recommend you go see it. But this is my review for today. Ant-Man and the Wasp, 4 out of 5 stars. I definitely recommend you go see it. Definitely stay for the end credit scene. It's a mid-credit scene, not the very end credit scene, but the mid-credit scene. And also the end credit scene too, even though hilarious, it does kind of feed into Infinity War itself too. Even though the last part of the end credit scene is hilarious, but the beginning of it does feed into Infinity War. But again, this is my review. Ant-Man and the Wasp, 4 out of 5 stars. I definitely recommend you go see it. Stay tuned to my reviews coming up here. I got some reviews coming on Death of Superman. For you sports fans, I'm going to start my reviews for my predictions for each division, starting with the NFC East. And I'm also probably going to do some other reviews. Probably at least once a week, I'm going to start a live video. Just my thoughts on things with movies, television, and things going on in the world. Everybody, this is my review again today. Thanks for listening. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to get a following, get a lot of followers here. And again, before you go, ask Joe.